again. The other choice is submission to Krishna's will. In other words, subordinating our will to Krishna's will. Choosing to do that. And then this result, activities in submission to the Lord's will, that's another kind of karma called nice karma. Nice karma means activity that does not produce any material reaction, whether good or bad, whether pap or punya. The reaction produced by nice karma activities is that you go back home, back to Godhead. Has a spiritual reaction. And the yogas, which are contributed by Bhakti Yoga to this conative or willing phase of the mind activities, phase of psychology, are Kriya and Abhyasa. Kriya means regulated activities. Kriyas, specifically, that would mean our duties. Like if someone is a grihasta, then as a grihasta, you have duties that you should perform. Significant duties of the grihasta ashram. These are called kriyas. So for every varna and ashram, there are specific kriyas. So the kriyas, the activities which are given in devotional service, then like Krishna in 12th chapter of Gita uses the term mat karma, karma activities which are for me. So this is what Bhakti Yoga gives us. Activities, they're including all the occupational activities, whatever varna ashram you may be in, but they're all meant for Krishna. And then Abhyasa Yoga, from the 12th chapter also, that term of Gita, that term is there. Abhyasa means regulated activities in devotional service. That's our sadhana. You see, Kriya refers to our life activities, general life activities. Again, Grihasta, he has activities of working, earning money, maintaining his family, etc., etc. So this also, Kriya, should be pure. But then Abhyasa refers to what we all do as devotees. We chant 16 rounds, whether Varna ashram you're in. We should chant 16 rounds, we should follow 4 rigid principles, we should go to Mangalarti, see the deity every day, hear Bhagavatam class every day. This is Abhyasa. So these are the engagements for the willing function of the mind. And then for all, thinking, feeling and willing, there's one common yoga, prapati. Prapati means surrender to the Lord. So our thinking should be surrendered, our feeling should be surrendered, our willing should be surrendered, and this is healthy psychology in Bhakti Yoga. This is what we are presenting here. Now, I want to go ahead from this, because also in our seminar outline we have said that we are going to talk about unhealthy psychology also. And so I want to get to that today. So, vasana. Vasana, very important term. Srila Prabhupada made this statement in a Bhagavad Gita lecture on 29 July 1973 in London. Similarly, if one desires, this is a quote, similarly, if one desires that I shall become a devotee of Lord Krishna, that is natural desire. But when I desire to lord it over the material nature and forget my service to Krishna, it is called vasana. That is material desire, abhilas. So we have to give up these material desires. Then it is bhakti. So vasana is presented, for example, in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.11.5, where the translation says, because the mind is absorbed in desires, vasanas, for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense enjoyment. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is chief. Therefore, the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals, and birds. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body. So this, what this verse is describing, is the reason why the living entity is entangled in material nature. It's due to the mind, and specifically it's due to the mind being always agitated by the modes of nature, and that is because of the influx of vasana, material desires, which are coming up from the subconscious. I explained that the other day. So the word vasana, if you look in the Sanskrit, Monier-Williams Sanskrit Dictionary, it literally means to pour into something, pouring into something else, like pouring a liquid into a glass. So as that stream of liquid is, there's liquid in the glass and more is pouring into it. You see? And because more is coming into it, so the liquid in the glass is always agitated, isn't it? You see? Because there's something pouring in. So what's in the glass is agitated, and it's also filling up. Filling up. If you keep pouring, then it's going to fill up to the brim of the glass and flow over. So this is what is happening in the materialistic mind, that it is always being flooded from the subconscious by material desires, and therefore it is always agitated. And that agitation means the mind is always moving through the 3 modes of nature, sometimes in goodness, sometimes in passion, sometimes in ignorance. And then the mind has to act on these desires with the senses, and thus, as the verse describes, the mind enters a higher or lower position as a result of activities and has to accept a corresponding body, as a demigod, as a human being, as an animal, whatever. So this is why we are in this material world. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Nectar of Devotion, has explained this process. He's used somewhat different language, but it's describing the same thing. So, these desires, these vasanas, these material desires, they are in the root of our material identity, which I explained, is seen in the other chart, is this karana deha, this causal body, which is the essence of ignorance. It's this primeval ignorance. So he is described like that. That desires arise from avidya, ignorance. And they appear within consciousness, first of all, as bija. This is another term. So the vasanas appear in the mind as bija. Bija means seed. Seeds of desire. And the seeds fructify in the mind by contemplation. The agitated mind agitated by desire, seizes on these seeds to meditate on them. So it's like planting a seed in the ground and watering it. It will grow. And so the seed grows into pop, into sinful activities. And now we're taking all material activities to be sinful. Prabhupada said that for ethical sake we can divide material activities into pop and punya, because some lead upward, some lead downward. But Srila Prabhupada said, actually, any activity which is not for Krishna, which is not bringing you to pure Krishna consciousness, we must ultimately say it is pop. You see? Even so-called pious activities, if the intention is not to satisfy the Lord, but to get some good material result for myself, it is pop, actually, because it is keeping us here in the material world. So sinful desires, sinful seeds of desire in the mind, they grow into pop, sinful action, and this further results in what's called aparabdha. This is the unmanifest state of reaction. So how is that experienced? There's unmanifest, aparabdha, and then parabdha. That means the gross reactions. which is suffering. So how do we distinguish between the two? Aparabdha, an unmanifest reaction. Manifest reaction we can understand. As you grow, so you reap. If you cause harm to another person, then that harm will come to you in the future. This is karma. But what is an aparabdha reaction, an unmanifest reaction? Yeah, that is appearing as kutam. Kutam means sinful disposition. This is the subtle reaction that's always there in our mind, that we are inclined to sinful activities. Therefore, we are subject always. We are just weak in the face of more and more vasanas pouring into the mind from the subconscious. We cannot close that door. You see? We have a sinful disposition. Just like a young boy, he at some early age, he falls into bad association. He gets friends who like to steal, who like to shoplift. And they tell him, oh, it's fun, to go into the shop, you walk around and, put ththings in your pocket when they're not looking. You don't have to pay, it's great. Look at all the things we have, We got this for free. When I was young, we used to call it 5-finger discount. So this young boy, he's innocent, but by that bad association, he also starts to do. And of course, the first time he's stealing, it's not at all fun for him. He's very scared and unsure of himself, but he does it. Then he comes out of the store, and his friends are waiting. What did you get? What did you get? Well, I got. Wow, great! They pat him on the back. That's good. Then he feels proud. He feels like he's done something. He's being accepted by the group, and so he's getting. This is already the unmanifest reaction of that activity, is that he starts to like it. You see, he develops this proclivity to steal. Then there'll be reactions. Eventually, he gets caught. That's the parabdha karma. That's, he's taken down to the jail, gets in trouble. But the aparabdha reaction is that he develops this liking. So it becomes a habit with him. So, whenever there's opportunity, whenever that desire strikes him, the fancy strikes him, he'll do it. So he's become weak in the presence of sinfulness. So this is described, this is very nicely explained. This is in the Bhagavatam, this state of weakness, agitation, is called guna pravaha. Guna pravaha. This means the modes of nature. They're constantly cycling through the mind. One is just moving from goodness, passion, ignorance, goodness. But sometimes it means we have resolve in the mode of goodness. I'm going to change my habits. I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I'm not going to do these. But then we're weak, you see, and we get into a situation where opportunity is there to do something forbidden, and we do it because of what is called here kutam, sinful disposition. So this is everyone's problem in this material world. So what to do about it? What to do about it? We heard in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, guna prabhaho vikrita sorashatma. Guna prabhaha, the mind is agitated by the modes of natures. Vikrita, therefore, vikrita means the mind gets transformed by lust and by anger. All these negative emotions come up in the mind and pollute it and pervert it and start it moving in very inauspicious directions. And then the last word is sodasha. Sodashatma. This material self of 16 parts, and that was explained. Again, 10 kinds of senses, 5 active, 5 knowledge acquiring, 5 sense objects for 15, and the mind itself is the chief, as described in Srila Prabhupada's purport. So sodasha. So the Kali Santrana Upanishad says, Iti shodasha kalasya jivasya varanam vinashanam. That these 16 parts of the material identity are to be destroyed by the 16 names Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. 16. So 16 coverings, subtle coverings of consciousness, material coverings, are to be wiped out by the 16 holy names of the Lord. That is the answer to this problem of vasana, this constant influx of material desires. We have to chant Hare Krishna, purify the mind. This raises the mind out of this guna pravaha, being agitated by the modes of nature. The reason the vasanas, the material desires, are flowing into the mind is because our minds is under the modes of nature. The mind is just constantly turning under the influence of the modes. And that turning is being fueled by the vasana. You see? So it's an interdependence. So that's stopped when we seriously take up the chanting. The mind becomes purified, comes out from under the shadow of the modes of nature, and then the desires can no longer influence the mind. The desires are there. Desires will always be there. But they too are purified. Now, I'm going to come to that, explaining that more about the purification of desires, but closely allied with this vasana, impure desires coming up from the subconscious storehouse, bija, the seeds of desire that become implanted in the mind and grow. Like Krishna says, Jeto Vishya Pungsak Sankarsteshu Bhajayate. First to contemplate sense gratification in the mind, and by that contemplation you associate with the objects of the senses, and from this association in the mind then calm, lust grows. This is the process. Very closely connected with this, desires flowing into the mind, the seeds of desire are samskaras. Samskaras means impressions. So all of our activities of sense gratification in all of our lifetimes have put impressions on the mind. And these impressions are also there in the storehouse. And they're intimately connected with our desires. Because the desire needs an object. You see? So there's the desire and there's the samskara, the impression of the object. The impression or the memory. You were asking about memory. Yes, so this is the subconscious memory. The spool of experiences on the spool of film of the memory. Stored away. So these samskaras are there. Impressions. Impressions of all, whatever we did when we were in the lifetime of a waggy-tailed dog or a bird in the tree, or whatever we did in any form of life as demigod, all those impressions are there. So they're also coming up with the desires. You see, simultaneously with the desire, there is the object of desire. You see, desire means a wanting, but it must be for something. I desire something, and that is the samskara. So these impressions are there too. But you also must know that samskara is usually Prabhupada uses it in a positive sense, as reformatory impression. So now we are coming to the point of, this is leading into what I was going to tell you, the purification of desire. So desires are, as I said, intimately bound with impressions. So in Krishna consciousness and Bhakti Yoga, we create pure impressions, pure samskaras. Seeing the deity, that's a pure impression. Chanting Hare Krishna, that's a pure impression. Also our Vedic ceremonies are called samskaras, because they pure, like marriage, vivaha samskara, marriage. So you see, a woman for a man, that is the object of desire. And man has, we're so deeply impressed in our consciousness the object of the opposite sex. Depending on which body we get in, we may get a male body, female body. So the samskara is there, but then it will be, if we're male body, female. Of course, nowadays that's changing too. But in the good old days, used to be man wanted woman and woman wanted man. But I guess that mix-up shows you how it's, all the samskaras are there. And now in Kali Yuga they get just, really jumbled up. Wrong samskara for this body. So anyway, so woman for man is, that impression is deeply there in the consciousness as object of desire. And man, obviously, for woman. So when there's marriage under the auspices of Vedic culture, then that vivaha samskara, that is a reformatory samskara. The object of desire, husband, wife, is there, but the whole relationship between the two is now purified. It is now the relationship is conducted in the mode of goodness. So this reformatory samskara, when you're initiated into the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is a samskara. Brahman initiation, that's a samskara. All the initiation ceremonies are samskaras. But actually everything that we do in Krishna consciousness, every impression that we put into our mind every day in our devotional service, that is reformatory samskara. That is creating a purified object for all those desires down there, which are clamoring, we want. Right? So we're giving you pure objects. And that's how the desires are purified. You give those desires, because desires are originally, what are they originally? It's the yearning of the soul. It's the need of the soul for satisfaction. And then when we're off the path of Krishna consciousness, that need of the soul becomes translated as a myriad of unlimited material desires. But the original need is simply for Krishna. So what we do in Krishna consciousness is we supply that original need in the form of so many devotional impressions. All of our activities, taking prasad, everything is creating an impression. And so this is overcoming, this is defeating those dark materialistic impressions that are locked up in the basement of our heart. And I want to, since we have many members of Indian community here, I want to refer to a conversation that is recorded with Srila Prabhupada from 11 September 1972 in Arlington, Texas. So there an Indian gentleman was, he was being nice, he was being in a way submissive to Prabhupada, but he was putting forward nonetheless a kind of argument. And his argument was that